In today's video, we're going to talk about the 10 common traits in children of narcissistic parents. If this is a topic that interests you, then please stay tuned to find out more. Now, if we draw our information from scientific literature, from survivor accounts, from various reliable psychological resources, we can observe certain traits that are really common amongst children of narcissistic parents. And these traits are deeply ingrained within their psyche. And these traits were things that were learned in childhood in order to survive such a difficult and dysfunctional environment. Now, the first thing that we see in an adult child of a narcissistic parent is that they have very low self-worth. And with this very low self-worth also comes chronic self-doubt. So children of narcissists often internalize the messages that they are given by their parents that they are not good enough. The parent has a way of constantly making them feel like no matter what they do, it's never up to their standards. And this is something that persists throughout their childhood. And the more they get the message, the more they internalize it and the more they start believing it. Having such fragile self-worth means that they struggle in all areas of their life and they find it really hard to take any steps forward towards building on their future, whether that's in employment, whether that's in relationships. It's something that is extremely hard. Low self-worth can be very destructive in many different areas of a person's life. The second common characteristic or trait that we notice in a child that's had such parents is that they can become perfectionistic and they can also become overachievers. So another way to gain approval from your parents is to constantly be perfect. It's to constantly try and excel at everything in order to get that narcissistic parent's attention. And when you're doing well, they are happier with you. And when they are happier with you, maybe you feel more loved. So this is a very, very common trait of many people who have had narcissistic parents. But what we also see is that somebody who is a perfectionist may at some point also self-sabotage because deep down they don't actually feel that they deserve to be successful. So sometimes we can see both. We can see the perfectionistic overachieving personality style, or we can see the style where the individual constantly sabotages things in their life because they don't feel worthy of these things, because they know that even if they are doing really well, nobody is going to give them that love that they never got in childhood. Nobody's going to come there and fill that void that they have, because this is something they should have received in childhood. And with narcissistic parents, you do not get this unconditional love that is very much needed in order to develop into a healthy adult. Now, the third very common trait that we notice in children of narcissistic parents is that they, in most cases, are very codependent and they tend to be people pleasers. So when you are in a narcissistic home with parents like this, your survival depends on constantly making sure that your mom or dad were always happy. When they were happy, things were usually easier at home. When they were happy, you may have had a bit more attention. So people-pleasing tendencies and codependency comes from constantly trying to tend to your narcissistic parents' emotions. So if you had an alcoholic father, or if you had a mother who constantly had mood swings, you will have put all of your focus on making sure that they were okay. Because if they were okay, you were usually okay too. To a certain extent, of course. Let's not forget, in a dysfunctional family home with narcissistic parents, you are generally not going to be okay. But it would help you feel a little bit better. Maybe you would have a day where you felt a bit safer. Maybe you had a day where you were able to play a little bit or just be a kid. So the more you did for your parents, the more you catered to their needs, the better your day would have been. Now, the fourth really important trait that we see is that an adult child will be riddled with feelings of shame and they will have huge difficulties in setting boundaries. Now, when there is emotional manipulation and there is only conditional attention, conditional affection, conditional love, this child's ability to establish healthy boundaries is impaired. And this is often accompanied by deep-seated feelings of guilt or shame. And a narcissistic parent will project onto their child. If there's something they're not happy about, they will blame the child. They will say that it's the child that's weak, that it's the child that's too upset or is too angry. And the more that they are burdened constantly with being the bad guy in the family, with being the bad kid or being the kid that doesn't listen, the more these messages are repeated, the more the child internalizes this as shame. They think that they are not worthy. Not that their behavior is bad, not that they've done something wrong, but that they are wrong. And carrying feelings of this shame is extremely toxic. And of course, guilt is another thing. The narcissistic parent will make the child feel guilty about almost everything. They will blame that child for their moods, for things that go wrong. And that child will live in this state of chronic guilt. They will always feel like they have to do something to please that parent. But in reality, none of these emotions should even be present. If the child had had healthy parents, they wouldn't be feeling these things. Now, the sixth trait or behavior that we will see in children of narcissistic parents is that they will have extremely insecure attachments, and generally they'll have a lot of relationship challenges. So it may be that a child in a narcissistic home is anxiously attached, which means that they will find it really hard feeling safe in relationships, or they may be completely avoidant, where they don't allow themselves to get close to someone because getting close means danger. So because there was so much emotional inconsistency in their childhood, and their parents were always hot or cold in the way that they expressed their emotions towards their children, these children haven't learned how to feel safe. And of course, this will translate into relationships when they are adults. They will struggle. They will basically pick partners that resemble their family of origin. So these partners may be avoidant, these partners may be emotionally unavailable or abusive, or they may be lucky enough, they may pick a partner that is stable, that has a secure attachment, but they will be riddled with anxious feelings because of their own anxious attachment. Of course, having a securely attached partner does help heal this. So if you are somebody who is with somebody that's securely attached, then good for you. I hope this has helped. Generally though, people that have had narcissistic parents will have a lot of trust issues in relationships, and they will struggle very, very much with intimacy. Now, the seventh very common trait that we see in children of narcissistic parents is that they will have internalized gaslighting, and they will feel really confused in their identity. So when you are in a family where your parents consistently deny your reality, they consistently gaslight you, you will end up taking that on and doubting your own perception of things. So you will gaslight yourself essentially. And also you will have a lot of trouble feeling secure in your own identity and the person that you are, because you were so enmeshed and entangled in your family dynamic, because there was so much crossing of boundaries. You don't know who you really are. You don't know who you are without everything that you've always done for your family, because you were always putting your family's needs first. So identity confusion is a really big part of having had narcissistic parents. Identity confusion is real. You will need to rediscover who you are as you heal. The eighth trait that we see in children of narcissistic parents is that they feel this sense of over-responsibility, which is a direct result of being parentified in childhood. So they think that it's up to them to fix everything in their family. They think that it's up to them to constantly prioritize their parents' needs and not their own. So then what this translates into is when this adult child is in a relationship, a romantic relationship, they may end up repeating the same pattern of behavior with their partner. They may constantly want to do too much for their partner, or they may even unconsciously choose a partner who is very emotionally distant, who doesn't take responsibility. When you have been parentified in a family home, you will take on too many caretaker roles in your life because you already did this as a child. And the natural result of this is to continue this into adult relationships as well. Other things that we see with adult children of narcissistic parents is that they will generally struggle with their mental health. They will have anxiety, they will have depression, they will generally have mental health challenges. They can either develop a personality disorder themselves. If the abuse was severe, they will definitely live with symptoms of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD. They will feel chronically tired. They will always do too much. They will not know how to care for themselves in a healthy way. They will self-neglect themselves. A lot of issues will be present. They will still be using a lot of the survival mechanisms that they used as children in adulthood. And all of these things don't really help because they can lead to burnout. They can, lead to maybe destroyed relationships. They'll struggle in work. So all of the trauma from childhood will have a direct result on their adult lives. And of course, this can only be helped with the right support, with the right healing. And then once that individual learns a lot of skills on how to cope with this better, on how to look after themselves better, they can actually thrive. It is possible. Now, the last trait that you see is a positive trait where they have increased empathy, high levels of resilience, and really good intuition. Despite all of the challenges that these individuals may have faced in their life and their childhood, they have a remarkable level of resilience. They are compassionate, caring individuals. They have huge amounts of empathy. And many of them are extremely self-reliant. They have managed to do things completely on their own without anybody's support. And this is obviously something to be celebrated. It's something that has come from all of that dysfunction, all of that trauma. These are the positive things that remain as long as they keep having hope and as long as they take brave steps to help themselves heal. Now that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for listening and for watching today. And if you need any support at all, then please feel free to email me at courageisallyouneed@gmail.com. And if of course you need coaching, then I do offer one-to-one coaching for those of you that need help in your healing journey, as well as one-to-one art therapy sessions for those of you interested in trying something a little bit different. Art can be great for exploring trauma, dysfunctional relationships, and it can be especially good for those of you who have had narcissistic abuse. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.